Yeah.
Um,
We also have to talk about the Merca upgrades.
yes. Um, yeah, I said that that would be on pole. I can't remember what I said for my like weird prediction. I can't remember what the other ones were. I just remember that one because I got it right, to be honest.
I take it the other
So,
person in the stream is you.
oh shit, didn't mean to do that.
No, I don't. I don't.
Cast out.
Back off! I don't want to do a bloody 2 hyper soft stints. That's true. Yeah, 102 stop. Okay. Oh my god, we're right next to each other as well.
Okay, our system checks are good. We need to stay in formation and start bringing the car up to temperature, please. Get some load into the tyres and work the brakes.
Want to do the intro, or will I?
I don't mind. It's up to you.
Hello and welcome back to episode 3 of the Lights Out where we're reviewing Canadian Grand Prix and looking at the French Grand Prix in 2 weeks, I think.
Yes, 23rd of June is the weekend.
Yep. And we have our two of our usual hosts, me and Maz, and Arsha can't be here today, unfortunately, but we will be talking about everything, and my god, have we got a bit of a madness.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about today, there's no doubt about that.
I think we should begin with the upgrades brought to the Grand Prix. Renault apparently brought straight line speed upgrades, which I think is true because they got a good qualifying position.
Yeah, I think, I mean, both Renaults were significantly quicker, especially on a track they weren't expected. Like, usually their straight line speed isn't that great.
Yes.
But they did say back in Monaco that they brought it, but you couldn't see it in Monaco, obviously, because it's not a straight line track.
Yeah, it's Monaco.
And so, yeah, we were waiting to see if that was the case, and yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. And obviously we know that Mercedes was their biggest engine upgrade since 2015, I think it was.
Yeah.
Their biggest engine upgrade. Which they still obviously were slower in the straight line than Ferraris on the straights, but the gap wasn't as much as it probably would have been without those upgrades.
Yeah, definitely. Even though Merck looked to be kind of on top form from in pre-practice 1 and 2, they looked very, very quick. Then Ferrari brought their A game coming into first practice on Saturday.
I think they just turned the engine up and just
That's the second also Ferrari pole, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, obviously the first one being Leclerc in Bahrain.
Also got shafted in the race, so we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Qualifying.
Yeah. Really entertaining qualifying.
Very entertaining qualifying. I was honestly expecting a snooze fest.
Yeah, I thought it'd just be... Well, I thought that the front Ferrari Mercedes would be quite an interesting battle. Well, I say Ferrari Mercedes, Ferrari Hamilton would be an interesting battle. And it was, but it was more than the midfield and stuff that we've got thrown a couple of surprises, and I'm sure you want to talk about Ricciardo's qualifying.
Oh, of course.
That was incredible. 4th place in a Renault, splitting out-qualified a Mercedes and a Red Bull. And I know that Red Bull was Pierre Gasly, but it was also, Valtteri Bottas, who's been a lot better this season. So
definitely.
Yeah, it was quite a effort from Ricciardo, and hats off to him. He needed that, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think the most surprising thing so far, though, from qualifying was once again both Racing Points out after out in Q1. But their straight line speed, I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, especially on as you say, straight line speed is usually their main advantage and stuff. And obviously Stroll for the 11th time
in a row
got knocked out
qualifying
in Q1. Yeah. But it was their home Grand Prix as well, obviously for the team. I think they must have been really disappointed with the qualifying. Perez very nearly got into Q2, but Giovinazzi just did I think it was like a couple of it was ridiculously close. I think it was 100th of a second quicker Giovinazzi was than Perez. So they just about missed out on Q2. And when Perez doesn't even get into Q2, that shows that the racing point isn't as quick. I mean, because Stroll's not going to get into Q2, I don't think, even if he was in Mercedes, to be honest.
No.
So,
Well, no, I'd say he would. Surely he has to in a Mercedes car.
No, I really don't.
Yeah, to be fair, though. Now, moving on to qualifying 2. So,
yeah.
The first half of was very a bit of a snooze. Then Magnussen bins it,
and just changes everything. It screws over Grosjean, it screws over Kvyat, it screws over most importantly Verstappen.
Yes.
And that's the most significant one that it screwed over.
Yeah, definitely.
Because obviously I think Red Bull were probably right to gamble to go onto the mediums, because the tyre wear on the supers are shocking around here. On the softs are pretty shocking. So, but yeah, they just gambled on it. I mean, it's one of those things in qualifying. A red flag screws you over so much.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when it's right at the end of the session. You just really bad luck. I felt for Grosjean as well, because he's had a bit of bad luck in his recent qualifying sessions and stuff. And,
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, Magnussen hitting the wall of champions. It was interesting how the commentators were quick to say, well, it's still, the wall of champions, because he won Formula Renault and Formula Denmark,
yeah,
I think
definitely.
it was. So it's like, oh yeah. So, yeah, I don't think no matter who crashes into that will just still remain the wall of champions. Everyone in F1 has won something in their career.
Yeah, exactly. At least at some point in their career, they've won something.
Yeah, even Lance Stroll won Formula 4.
Somehow.
Yeah. Somehow.
Going to Verstappen then qualified in 11th, but then he got promoted up to P10 due to a 3-place grid penalty for, I think it was Carlos Sainz, for impeding Albon. I believe that it was impeding, but it wasn't that bad, to be fair. It could have been a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that after the race, after qualifying, they asked Albon about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I was a bit impeded, but at that point I was already into Q2, so I don't really see why this would be punishment."
Yeah,
so I think they really should have listened to that. When a driver who was held up by it is even like, "Well, it didn't really affect me," they should really just have a bit of common sense. But the stewarding obviously come to a bit later.
Yes.
But yeah, and then obviously Q3, very early on, Bottas had that little spin and somehow avoided the wall. I thought it was very impressive that he managed to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely very impressive. But I think the biggest surprise in qualifying was Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Definitely. P4. I think that says a lot about what Red Bull actually done by not having him for this season.
Yeah, I mean, that must have brought him so much joy out qualifying 2 Red Bulls.
Yeah,
I mean, you can just imagine.
I think it was on Channel 4's broadcast that they showed a very, very angry face on Christian Horner. Like just upset face that I honestly believe if Ricciardo was in a Red Bull right there, he could have gotten front row of the grid.
Well, he's very good at this track, to be fair. He's had quite a lot of success. He won last year here with Red Bull, so Yeah, I mean, he's had a lot of success here. Yeah, he won last year. Hamilton came 5th last year. I watched the highlights literally.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, brilliant qualifying from him. And then obviously the battle for pole. I thought Hamilton had it. And then Vettel comes up with an absolute stonker of a lap, and snatches pole. But it was a deserved pole. He drove a brilliant lap.
Oh, incredible!
It was good to see the little the bromance was back between him and Seb, and there was even a bit in after the press conference when he was like, well, Lewis is usually pretty handsome around here. I mean, Handy, and Lewis was like, thanks, and he was like, well, you know, he's also handsome. And it was sort of that, you know,
yeah, definitely.
And even Lewis seemed happy that he sort of had Seb like a challenge, you know, because he really, this season has been sort of quite easy for him. And it's, you know, obviously he was fighting Seb pretty much every single race until the last couple, last season for the championship. So I think he was also relieved to finally have some like competition back. And he didn't seem that upset for getting second. And then obviously Leclerc in 3rd. So you already knew it was probably going to be a really good race because of how good qualifying was and how mixed up the grid was. You just knew that this race was certainly going to be one worth to watch. Anyway.
Yeah, in my opinion, it was going to be a good race to watch Max come through the field, and also to watch how to see actually the oh my god, Ricardo would have actually held there. I think it was very, very interesting, especially exactly what was going to happen. But then I believed it would have been a very, very boring race if Hamilton was able to jump Vettel off the line.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because the Ferrari seems to be very bad at following cars this year, kind of like Merc last year.
Yeah.
I think the Merc car is overall a better car this year than the Ferrari, and I don't think.
Oh, definitely.
And I don't think anybody can argue it.
Last year, I think the Ferrari was the better car, just about over the Merc.
Yeah, exactly.
But Ferrari's decision and strategy and individual mistakes from Vettel cost them ultimately in the title.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, this season there's no competition really. I mean, Mercedes are miles ahead of everyone. The only thing is straight line speed.
Yeah.
So
2014 Merc again.
Yeah, I mean, I think next week Ferrari might have a good shot as well because of that, and also Monza, just because of the straight line speed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, should be interesting. Anyway, so yeah, very good qualifying session, set it up for a very good race, and as you said, Hamilton didn't jump Vettel off the line. There weren't really many position changes off the line. The only ones there were really at the back. Sainz ran over a bit of debris from where Albon hit his front wing.
That's about it.
Yeah, Grosjean had to go wide, and he had to actually physically remove one of the bits of debris from his car with his hand whilst driving, which was
impressive,
not ideal. Yeah, it was impressive. He managed it, to be fair, but again got quite unlucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, apart from that, there wasn't really any changes in the first lap. Which, to be honest, I wasn't complaining because Ricciardo's still up there, so then you haven't just had Bottas and Gasly overtaken immediately. And
I don't think Pierre would have been able to full stop.
No, I don't think he would also either. I mean, we'll go on to how his race transpired, but yeah, so it certainly was an interesting start. Even though there weren't many position changes. And then we go on to the next bit of the race, the next phase of the race, I guess.
And I suppose we could go team by team? Or
let's go team by team. I think that'll be easier than doing it.
Actually, we'll talk about Norris first, actually, because this is very interesting. We'll begin with McLaren.
Okay.
What happened? How did that break, and who's getting sacked?
Yeah, I don't like literally. I mean, they said to Sainz a couple of laps before the Norris thing happened. We pitted you early because they pitted him like lap 4
Yeah,
because of the overheating of the brakes and tyres, and then obviously Norris literally melted his brakes and suspension, which was a shame because he was having a really good race, good battle with Verstappen for a while. At one point, he was even sort of pushing up behind Bottas, and he was having a solid race. He definitely would have scored some decent points.
Definitely.
But yeah, he just like, I don't know what happened there. The brake temperature must have been too hot. I mean, it seemed to be the same with both McLarens because, as I said, they had to pit Sainz early. But yeah, it was a bit bizarre, but
it's a bit of an odd one,
and a real shame for Lando. And ultimately, McLaren scored no points at all. Nice.
Which is unfortunate. He has a bit of a McLaren fan.
Yeah, it's not
in my
really
heart
that
at
good
least,
to see.
anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on to we can go team by team.
Yeah.
Williams. A tale of two drivers.
Yeah, I mean, it quite often it has been this season, unfortunately.
Russell seems a lot better than Kubica did, and I don't think anybody can argue it.
Oh no, yeah, he's clearly better than Kubica. Same car, and Kubica's consistently about 2 seconds slower than him. Every race. He's out-qualified Kubica every single race this season, 7-0.
Yeah.
In terms of qualifying. Yeah, and Russell doing the best he can with the car. He's the only shining light is that Williams have got, a good young driver. Shame they've got a shit car, and Kubica, as much as it'd be a great fairy tale for him to come back and be quite competitive, he's just not competitive.
It's all it is. Yeah, it's all it is, really. Because of the actual thing on the car, the title name on the car, broke it, I think. It's the only reason he's really there at the moment.
Yeah.
I do believe that it's interesting that he was able to get 16th. Fair play to him. What I will say.
Yeah.
That's an impressive feat, to actually say the least, for a Williams, considering how far off the pace it actually is.
Let's turn up the ERS deployment and burn some of this energy.
But it's like that was a very boring race. I didn't really see much of it because the commentators never talk about the Williams.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there wasn't really much. The more interesting battle was in the midfield and and obviously at the front. But for once, they did actually seem to show the midfield a bit more this race, which was a welcome thing, because every F1 fan was crying out for it, because we just, rather than watching Hamilton lap a Williams, I think the most times we've seen the Williams is when they've been lapped.
Exactly.
Because they're constantly focusing on the front. We actually, we cut back to, because at the start Vettel pulled away quite a bit from Hamilton. It was about 3 or 4 seconds. He had a really decent start, pulled away quite well. So they actually weren't, instead of just watching Vettel drive around with no one near him, they actually were looking at Verstappen, Norris, the midfield battles, Fiat. It was welcome and certainly overdue.
Moving on to Toro Rosso, Kvyat, if I'm not mistaken, got a point.
Yes, he did. He overtook Sainz right at the end.
Yeah, the only reason he got that point is because of Sainz's awful strategy that was kind of forced upon him.
Yeah, it was forced because of the overheating issues that McLaren had.
Yeah, I honestly don't believe
it. Ended up like Norris.
Yeah, he would have been ahead of Lance Stroll as well, and I think Kvyat could have gotten ahead of Lance Stroll, to be fair.
Yeah, if he had more time.
Yeah.
Kvyat out-qualified Albon. I think he might have got into, or certainly got 11th, or maybe even sneaked into Q3 if it wasn't for Magnussen issue. He was on a good lap, certainly improving, and he's now 5-2 up, I think, on qualifying with Albon.
I believe you're right.
And obviously Spain, he got 7th. Monaco, he got 7th. He got points again today. Not as good, obviously, because it was quali, but Fiat
definitely.
certainly something that he's really lacked is consistency. But it seems to have. He's a lot more mature, certainly this season in his driving style, and you're seeing that with consistency of his drives. And yeah, he certainly seems a lot more confident and comfortable. And I think that's encouraging for Red Bull to see. Especially because, as you say, they don't really have that many drivers in their young driver program.
I'm out.
That looks bad. Are you alright? Let me know you're alright.
I was looking at my computer for the results.
Yeah, and then Albon obviously didn't have a great race.
No, he didn't. Not at all. Moving to... I think the next thing we should talk about it would be the Hasses.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Grosjean is Grosjean, I'll leave him off. He's more consistent, that's about it really, from Grosjean.
Yeah, he got a bit unlucky with the start, obviously, in quali, but yeah, nothing special. You'd expect the Haas to be a bit quicker.
Yeah, a bit of a snorefest. Gunther Steiner went over the radio to talk to Magnussen, who...
Oh, yeah. That was...
Magnussen binned it, and he's whinging about the car.
Yeah.
Your team probably built that entire car overnight to make sure you're on that track. So to be fair, without them, you wouldn't be in that car at all. So to be fair, I think his comments were uncalled for. And the team boss was definitely was 100% in the right.
And wasn't the issue that Magnussen wanted to keep going when there was no point because he was like last, and Gunther was saying, and the team was saying for him to retire so they could save the engine.
Yes.
Am I correct in saying that? Yeah. And then he's saying like, come on, enough is enough. But it's quite rare that you have the team principal literally come on the radio to bollock one of the drivers.
Yeah.
It felt a bit like sort of like a school teacher coming on to like bollock a student or something. It was a weird thing, and you could sort of see Magnussen was very quiet. But yeah.
But in my opinion, he was entirely right to do so. He was right to do so.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah.
Moving on to the Alfa Romeos, because that's all we really have to talk about the Haas about, minus Magnussen crash, which we've already discussed in the qualifying part.
Yeah.
I didn't see much of the Alphas this race.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing was Gio. Obviously, he got his highest ever start in quali. 13th, out-qualified Raikkonen for the second time. The first time since Australia, he out-qualified Raikkonen.
Yeah, I think it's also the first time that Raikkonen hasn't been in the top 10. No, the top. That he went out in
Q1,
in Q1 since 2015, I believe.
Yeah, it was a rare,
a rare
thing.
A rare but interesting sight.
And the Saubers weren't quick at all, were they? They were just really mediocre. I think both drivers sort of did the best they could. Did Giovinazzi end up finishing ahead of Raikkonen at the end of the race?
Yes, but not by much.
Yes. Yeah, no, alright, so that's a good little confidence boost for Giovinazzi. You know, something to take out of the weekend, but because let's be honest, they'll want to forget it. It was pretty miserable for Sauber, and obviously it was at Monaco as well, so it's been a great 2 races for them.
Yes, definitely. Even though they're both outside the points still, but what can you expect, really?
Yeah.
Moving on to the racing points. Lance Stroll scored points. There's more chance of a hurricane hitting Ireland, I'd say, than him doing that again.
Yeah. Well, obviously he was more motivated because it was his home race.
Yeah.
But to be honest, considering his qualifying, I still wasn't expecting that.
No.
But it was weird in the race. The racing points seemed to have more pace, didn't they?
Yes, they had.
Seemed to have it.
It's like they altered their car that they were expecting to go out in Q1, but they had a better race car planned.
Yeah, and it
that it
seemed
was
to be a lot
veered
better
toward
on
a
the
race.
tyres.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Stroll went for the reason Stroll was finished so high up was because how he managed his tyres. But also, I think the fact that Stroll finished ahead of Gasly sort of speaks about Gasly, and we'll move on to.
Gasly finished above Stroll.
Oh, did he in the end? Oh,
yeah.
Good, thank God. Because he was ahead of him for ages until the pit stop.
Yeah, Stroll came 9th, Gasly came 8th. Kvyat came 10th, Sainz came 11th. Even though, arguably, Kvyat, Stroll should have only gotten 10th because Sainz should have been technically ahead of him if he wasn't on such old tyres. So, moving to Renault. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. They're now, in my opinion, the 4th best team on the grid again. After that performance.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're 2 points behind McLaren in that 4th place. But yeah, certainly I think, and in France they'll be superior. I think McLaren will struggle again. So I think Renault will do better than them again. So I think, they probably are with that new upgrade, straight line speed, definitely.
Yeah. I believe that them and McLaren are definitely tied for the 4th best team on the grid. Without a shadow of a doubt.
They're the only 2 real competitors, I'd say, for the 4th place. And obviously, good race for both Hulkenberg and Ricciardo. It was 6th and 7th, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, 6th and 7th.
Both of them being ahead of a Red Bull. That shouldn't happen.
No, it shouldn't. But I think that also speaks as well as Renault's new upgrade in Ricciardo and Hulkenberg's ability. It also, you can't really ignore Gasly's shortcomings at the same time.
Yeah. But to be fair now, Renault haven't seen an engine failure, I think, since
Bahrain.
Since Bahrain.
Yeah.
So
that's the double engine failure.
Yeah, so that's looking positive for them anyway, for the time being.
Yeah, and I think the new upgrade, as I say, I think they'll do decent again in France. Although I certainly think they can do well.
Or at least they should.
Yeah.
Ricciardo.
Solid races from the 2 of them. Obviously, Ricciardo did really well.
How long he was able to hold up the Merc for is incredible.
It was just classic Ricciardo as well. The late braking, even when you thought, Bottas has made the move, he's ahead of him on the straight, and then the late braking, he managed to defend the position. It was vintage Ricciardo.
Incredible fight.
It's what we've come to expect, and it was really entertaining to watch because you kept thinking, oh, surely it's over now, and then it would go on for another lap, and Ricciardo would just outbrake him again, and then eventually, obviously, Bottas did get him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was certainly very interesting. I'm sure Ricciardo enjoyed that, and certainly fans enjoyed it. And still a really good finish, and probably realistically the best he was hoping for in that car. Because
Definitely.
Obviously Verstappen was always gonna sort of charge through the field and get a minimum of about 5th. So I think he certainly seemed happy again. You saw the Ricciardo smile back.
Yeah, and the only reason he isn't in a top 3 car is because of the man you just mentioned, Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Moving on to Red Bull. This is an interesting one. A tale of 2 drivers again.
Yeah, and you thought it might be different considering qualifying. You thought maybe this is. I mean, Martin Brundle was saying, now this might feel good for Gasly. He's the number 1 driver essentially for the time being because he's starting higher up and he's their best shot. But and usually that can sometimes make the drivers be better. But it didn't happen, did it? Didn't happen at all.
Nope. I think it just shows what a shit driver he actually is. Anyway, looking at Verstappen though, what a race to actually get that high up.
Yeah, he did well. I think I think everyone was sort of expecting it, to be honest.
Yes, but
we've become so used to Verstappen. But yeah, no, credit where credit's due. He did a good job from that position, and yeah, he'll. It was damage limitation for Red Bull, really, and Verstappen did a good job of that. Gasly, on the other hand, was abysmal.
Oh my God! Drop him already, please, please. Jesus.
I mean, I don't understand how, like, in that car, starting 5th on the grid, you then finish 8th, behind 2 Renaults, and just.
Okay, I have a question for you. Do you think Pierre Gasly will be in that car in Abu Dhabi?
See, usually I'd say I wouldn't expect him to, but I think Christian Horner is sort of more conscious about, Red Bull sort of have this reputation already of sort of chopping and changing. You think he might want to change, like give Gasly, maybe be a bit more lenient to Gasly, especially because they haven't got that many options in their drivers, in sort of their reserve drivers and their driving program.
Yeah,
but
only options they have is Albon and Kvyat, really.
I think
well, and Tick.
Horner sort of. This is my theory anyway. I think Horner quite likes it, having one driver so much clearly better than the other. And he loves Verstappen. And I think he doesn't want anyone. I think you'd end up with the sort of Ricciardo-Verstappen situation again, when you have 2 pretty even drivers who are pretty good, but then one driver's still favoured. Because I don't think Horner. It's the same with Vettel and Webber. Horner never really has a history of having equal drivers. Webber, Vettel was always the #1 driver. Ricciardo, Verstappen. Verstappen was always the #1 driver when he came along. Ricciardo, Vettel
not
was
always
the #1, but
he
Vettel,
was from about 2017 onwards, I think.
Yes, yeah. Vettel was the #1, even though he got outperformed by Danny Rick in the end. So. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if Gasly continues with performances like, especially Canada, was his worst performance arguably since Australia, then I don't see him staying.
I think changes have to be made.
Surely he's got to get better though.
Yeah,
surely,
particularly Lance Stroll. Everybody thought, Lance Stroll has to be better now. Yeah, he's in a racing point. No.
Yeah.
He's performing like he's in a Williams still.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh my God. Moving on to... We'll move on to Ferrari next. A tale of 2 drivers again. Very boring race for Leclerc. It's just very, very straightforward. Just lights the flag. It didn't really have any issues. Just lights the flag. Very, very simple.
Yeah, it was. I thought he might have been screwed over by Ferrari's strategy because they made him go longer, and it sort of put him out the fight for the top 3. But to be honest, he never really had the pace to be in that fight.
No, definitely
not. But yeah, I mean, he showed good pace at the end. Did he get fastest lap in the end, or was it Bottas?
It was Bottas.
Ah, right, yeah.
He has the new track record. Actually, he broke it on the last lap.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Now, talking about... I'm going to leave Vettel for a bit because I want to talk about Vettel and Hamilton together. I think that's the correct thing to do, and we'll leave that for last because I have a very, very controversial opinion that I'm going to get screamed at for.
Interesting, okay.
We'll talk about Bottas next. He made a decent recovery drive, but his race was hampered a lot by Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Because of just how long he was behind him.
It was unspectacular. His drive, his quality was poor. His drive was okay. I mean, probably he'll be satisfied that he managed to recover to 4th. But it was unspectacular from Bottas, and hopefully that the past 3 results can put an end to all this Bottas 2.0 bullshit.
But I think it's more of qualifying again, though. It's the exact same with Max. I think qualifying, and I think that the Merc is slower than the Ferrari around here anyway to begin with.
True.
It just was. I also I believe that Valtteri kind of got. It's kind of back to the Valtteri that we think he's going to be. I still think that Lewis Hamilton is going to walk away with the championship this season, unless Ferrari brings some serious upgrades. But then I think it might be a fight between Valtteri and Vettel for P2.
Yeah, because but I think that's also more to do with how good the Merc is.
I think that's
Bottas' ability.
Yeah,
in my opinion, definitely.
I think it could be a two-way fight right now if we had Ricciardo in a Merc. Make it happen. I think.
I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm afraid.
I want it to happen, but it probably won't happen. It won't happen. I want it to happen, but it probably won't happen. There.
Yeah.
Moving on to the time penalty. No, to Hamilton and Vettel. Everything was calm, chill, everything like that until that time penalty.
Yeah.
Do you think it was the correct call?
I think it was harsh. I can see why it's given, because if you look at it purely from a rule-based angle, then you can see why the stewards have given the penalty, because Hamilton had to slam on the brakes. But if you look at it through a common sense racing perspective, it shouldn't have been a penalty. I think that's a racing incident. But at the same time, I see why it's given. But in my opinion, it ruined the race that would have been a really exciting climax. I personally think Hamilton would have overtaken Vettel anyway.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But the fact that he won like that, and the absolute toxicity of the F1 community is really coming out because of that decision. I mean, yeah, I didn't want Hamilton to win like that. I didn't celebrate his win. I'm sort of in hiding at the moment because social media is dangerous to be a Hamilton fan at the moment.
Yeah.
Because there's so many angry, not just Ferrari fans, but neutral fans who are furious about a...
as a Merc fan, full stop, really.
Yeah.
But I don't see why Hamilton's being blamed for it.
Well, I do, because Hamilton is always the go-to for
but
a lot of
you can't but you can't blame a driver for winning a race even though it's out of his hands. You can't blame him for that.
Yeah, but people do. That's the problem. A lot of neutrals and a lot of obviously Ferrari fans absolutely despise Hamilton, and despite all of Hamilton's really nice gestures at the end, will continue to despise him and blame him rather than the FIA, or believe it's some conspiracy involving him, and and just use this to their catalogue of reasons why Hamilton's not as good as doesn't deserve even one world championship title, because
that is absolute bullshit. He deserves all 5.
No, I know, but
or at least 4 of them.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the attitude of many a fan,
definitely.
And it's certainly frustrating as a Hamilton fan, because you're constantly having to defend your driver. Even Monaco, for some reason, he was getting blamed for Verstappen's penalty.
Oh, that's absolute bull crap.
Yeah, I know. They were like, well, why couldn't Hamilton have made it more interesting? It's like, what, do you want him to let Verstappen pass, see if he can get 5 seconds ahead? So he'll get blamed regardless, whether he wins deservedly or whether he wins controversially. But I think it was a harsh decision. I agree that it shouldn't have been given. It was a racing incident, but I can see why it was given, because if you have a rules-based opinion on it, then he did enter the track dangerously.
Yes.
But the fact is that it was a bit dodgy, but it wasn't enough. And if you're gonna do that, then you're just gonna ruin racing, as a lot of people have said.
Yeah. Now, I'm gonna give my very controversial opinion.
Yeah.
This is gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
As a person who has read the entire F1 handbook, cover to cover, I agree with the penalty. Because I understand the rules, but not to the extent it was given.
So what are you saying that?
I believe that yes, Vettel should have turned in and taken an earlier line. I believe that is a valid point. He cut off Hamilton. That is what I believe the penalty is for.
But his argument is that he wasn't in control of the car, and he was trying to correct a lot of oversteer and understeer.
Try and brake and turn. You might lock up and wear your tyres, but if you have a look at the replay cameras and see how close Hamilton was to making contact with Vettel, that would have been because of how close it is, I understand it. If Hamilton was another few seconds back, racing instant, continue on. It's just because of how close Hamilton was. I agree with the penalty. But I believe it should have been a 3-second time penalty, not a 5-second. I think 5 seconds is very harsh.
But it did rob us of a really exciting finale.
Yes.
Because as soon as that happened, it was race over.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that 100%. I agree with that, but as a person who has read the F1 handbook, I agree that penalty should have been given. As controversial as that is.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, I still think from just a common... I think either the rules need changing or there needs to be more consistency, because I think there needs to be more driver input as well, because there was only, I think, one of the stewards who was actually a former driver, and the rest of them were just FIA staff. And, you know, if you look at all the pundits and the majority of former drivers' opinions, they are of the opinion that, you know, that was not a penalty, because they've been in that sort of similar position, and they feel it's not, you know, it's not justified. And I think there needs to be more, because it's common sense, because if you're not been in that position where you're sort of losing control of the car, they have a much better position as former drivers to judge in that situation.
Yes.
And the fact that it was so unanimous as well certainly points that. Yeah, so I think maybe if you change who we have in the stewards, we have more former drivers, or there's just a bit more clarity on the rules and a bit more common sense, you know, in the heat of the moment, and you know, these things can happen. And
but then again,
there wasn't an incident. And you've also like ultimately, like obviously, if he'd taken off Hamilton's front wing or something, then that's definite penalty. But I still think Hamilton would have won that race, and I think they should have thought of it as, you know, obviously they can't, you know, they're not there to consider entertainment value, they're not there to consider, but they also need to consider the sort of...
A sport is a sport, though.
Yeah, but it's also racing, and these things happen in racing, and I think, as I say, if there were more former drivers on the panel, they wouldn't have made that decision. I think it would have been a racing incident.
I believe that
even Hamilton, all Hamilton did on the radio was say, "Oh, he seems to enter the track quite dangerously," and they said, "All right, we're on it, Lewis." He didn't even explicitly sort of say like, "Oh, that's, you know, what the fuck, Vettel's just cut me off. Investigate that, please." And he didn't seem to have a reaction to the 5-second penalty. So I don't think even Lewis was sort of too. I mean, he would have been a bit peeved off because it was a bit of a dodgy re-entrance, but I don't think he particularly wanted the penalty either for Vettel, because he would have known that he would have probably got past him anyway.
Yes, I believe it. I believe it's fine, minus the issue with say from Megan, with how close he was to Hamilton. If there was damage to Hamilton's car, and this is a big if there was front wing damage, what do you believe the penalty should have been?
Either a drive-through or a 10-second.
Wait, just a 10-second full stop, or a full like into the pits, wait there for 10 seconds and then go again?
I'd say just 10 seconds is the most lenient one, and the harshest one is drive-through.
I would say that a drive-through is too little if there was damage. I'd say
maybe.
You come into the pits for drive-through, you pull into your box, wait for 5 seconds and then go again. Because
maybe.
Hamilton's pit stop would be an extra 7 seconds.
Yeah, true. But I also think that reminds me, actually, obviously people are very upset about this, and I understand why Ferrari and Vettel fans are, and as well as neutrals, and I'm pissed off about it as well.
I understand.
But it is important to remember, people have very short memories in F1, that there have been a lot of decisions that have gone against Hamilton, for Hamilton in the past. For example, in Baku 2017, absolute joke of a penalty when Vettel deliberately rammed into Hamilton. And it was only 5 seconds, and then Hamilton had to pit because of an issue with something stuck in his visor.
No, it was Watson's visor. His the headrest was there.
Headrest, that's it. But yeah, and he had to pit. So in the end, Vettel finished ahead of him because of that, despite the penalty. And the penalty was only 5 seconds, and that was an absolute joke. That should have been far more. That could have even been a disqualification. He literally deliberately rammed into the side of Hamilton.
I'd even argue a severe, even more severe than that. I'd argue even a qualifying ban.
Yeah, exactly. So
that shouldn't happen. Deliberate contact with another vehicle should not be tolerated.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
under any circumstance.
This is the point that Max would have definitely raised, because it's a shame he's not on, because you're sort of the opinion. He sort of shares a similar opinion on you in the incident, in terms of I'm probably the most sympathetic towards Vettel, but he did raise the Baku point. So
yeah.
But also, I mean, and obviously Hamilton got a 5 second in 2008 Spa that robbed him a victory when Raikkonen and him were fighting for the win.
Yeah.
So it does, it swings and roundabouts, and as frustrating as it is, people are acting as if, it's the darkest day of the sport. Do you not remember Crashgate?
Do you not remember Prost versus Senna?
Yeah, do you not remember the Alonso Massa thing at Monza?
Yep.
Massive controversy when the team orders weren't allowed. There were so many. People have such short memories.
Yeah,
it's as if people have only started watching F1 this season, and they're like, well, that's the worst thing I've ever seen, it?
Yeah, like people as F1 fans, even new F1 fans, see this as a bigger incident than Vettel deliberately crashing into Hamilton. How is that how is this a bigger incident than that? That should have been a DSQ minimum.
Or Crashgate when with Alonso and I can't remember whose team it was, but yeah, it's just dumb. Like, and I don't. It's so frustrating, the amount of toxicity in the community. I mean, it's always been bad, but it's just, this is just giving more and more.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous.
Just ammo for it, and you're not going to hear the end of this, and. Yeah, people just have such short memories when it comes to F1. You do wonder. You do have to ask these fans, do you actually remember any of the previous seasons or anything? And let's be honest, it'd be even worse if, say for example, Vettel and Hamilton were in the same position they were at Canada last season, when it was ridiculously close on points.
Yeah.
But the fact is, Hamilton is ahead by a mile. And Vettel winning or not winning.
Hamilton before this race was ahead of Bottas by 13 points, I believe. Does this really matter? No.
And now it's even more.
Yes.
It's like 30 points, I believe.
In my honest opinion, this season's already over.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've never been more confident as a Hamilton fan that he's going to win a championship than this. Which is disappointing, because I was happy when Vettel got pole, because not only because it's my prediction, but because I think F1 needed it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just but and then obviously, should we talk about the bit after the result when Hamilton had crossed the line? Well, Vettel had crossed the line first, obviously, but Hamilton had won the race.
Yeah.
The whole Parc Ferme, the whole procedure of the podium and stuff. And the Vettel. What do you think of Vettel's reaction? Are you sympathetic, or are you?
I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I just think it's whatever. Just brush it off.
You weren't bothered?
Nah. Fine.
I mean, I thought. I understand why he's pissed. I understand the thing where he, walked off. And was almost refusing to go to the podium. I understand that at the time.
I don't think
the...
No, sorry, I thought you were on about the other thing when he took the board and ran off with it.
Oh no! I'm talking about the whole thing. I'm talking about like the whole incident.
I think the board thing was kind of hilarious. It was brilliant. That's fine. When he refused to go to the podium or he didn't put his car in park for me, I have an issue with that.
And my issue is actually the opposite. My issue was a bit where he moved the first and second. I thought it was a bit childish. I understand why he did it.
I just think it's a bit. I think it's just a bit of funny comedy, whatever. It's like Alonso on a deck chair.
Yeah, but he wasn't exactly laughing, was it? He was doing that seriously, and I thought it was just it was a bit childish, a bit of a childish antic, and I think
it's fine.
I had a lot of sympathy. Then he did that, and then I still have a lot of sympathy. But I just thought it was, it was a bit childish. It was a bit sort of, but I understand.
But Vettel's always been a bit of a child, though, in my opinion. He's always been a bit of a child.
Well, that's the irony, is that Hamilton always gets called a baby, a crybaby and stuff.
Yeah,
and then
but Hamilton...
if that was Hamilton doing that, he would get absolutely slated if he'd moved first and second around. Can you imagine?
He would have gotten...
It would go on for weeks. Absolute weeks.
He had grid penalties and everything. 5-place grid penalty next race.
Like, honestly, like... Twitter would never shut up about it. Go, oh, Hamilton a baby. You know how bad they were at Monaco when he was moaning about his tyres, and they were like, oh, he's such a crybaby. And then as soon as Vettel does it, everyone's on Twitter like, oh, he's a legend. He's an absolute legend, mate. He's such a legend of the sport for doing that. I just think it's quite hypocritical, that bit.
I didn't really think much of it. I said, whatever. It isn't that big of a deal. It's just 2 boards. I couldn't give a toss. I had more of an issue with him not going to the podium, because that to me is a bad image on the entire sport as a whole.
I think the more of a bad image for the entire sport as a whole, though, was the decision, I think. And I think at a time when F1 this season has not been the most competitive or exciting, that was definitely a bigger issue than him not, and then he did end up going to the podium, so it wasn't like a big deal. But he obviously wanted some time to sort of air his frustrations.
Yeah.
They have actually formally lodged an appeal. They haven't formally lodged an appeal yet, but they've set up the processes that you consider doing an appeal. The FIA, then you have 48 hours to confirm whether you want to launch that appeal.
Yes.
You need new evidence for that. So I think it's more of a symbolic gesture. I don't think they're going to actually launch an appeal, because the grounds to do so are you need new evidence, and unless I doubt they've got any new evidence apart from their interpretation of the incident. So.
Yes. I believe... now, speaking of rules, actually, there's been a talk by Autosport online that from the 2021 regulations onwards, there is now going to be new regs regarding the amount of money a team is allowed to spend.
Well, that's bad news for Mercedes.
150 million.
Do you know what Mercedes' normal spend is on?
It's about 1.2. I think it's over like 900 million or something like that.
Jesus Christ. It probably isn't as high as that's nearly a billion, but it probably will be higher than 150.
Mercedes F1 budget.
Because they've got obviously the highest budget on the grid.
No, Ferrari do.
Oh, do Ferrari? Oh no, they got more. They employ more people than Ferrari. So.
Yeah, they employ a hell of a lot more people. They have half of their people working on their new car in Australia.
Yeah.
And then they have the other half working on their current car. Ferrari have a 570 million budget every year. That's the highest in sport.
Holy shit! What's McLaren's? I'll be interested to see like what the mid teams are compared to that, because obviously you see we know there's quite a big disparity in terms of pace, and that certainly seems to be money related as well. But interesting to see like. But that, I presume, is a proposed change, not a...
Yes, it's proposed. It's rumoured that it's...
Mercedes and Ferrari will massively cry over that.
Yes.
But I think it would be better for the sport if it happened.
It's meant to be 175 million cap, and apparently Renault aren't happy about it, Merc aren't happy about it, Ferrari aren't happy about it, so it probably won't get passed.
Yeah, so the sport will continue to be dominated by the top 3 teams, essentially. Hopefully there'll be at least a 4th in there, but it's disappointing that teams put their own they're selfish in terms of that. They should be thinking of the sport as a whole, because ultimately F1 generates its money from fans and revenue from that and TV rights, and a lot less people continue to tune in if there's not a change.
I don't think.
A lot of people are holding out for that 2021 regulation change, and they want a big change. Max says that the Mercedes 2018 budget was 400 million, so yeah, less than Ferrari's obviously.
Yeah.
But still significantly over that 150 million mark.
Yeah, and I think Merck's is about half a billion as well.
What, Merck spent their budget though was 400 million.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Yeah, for 2018 anyway. I don't know about this yet.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the other rule change that's been proposed. Moving on to something a bit more interesting, we're going to leave the rules and regulations behind because we're going to ramble on about that for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Going to France.
Yeah.
Please note that all of it, that any predictions that we make on France is as of the 10th of June 2019, more than 2 weeks away from the next race.
Yeah.
Please note that for the record.
Yeah, I mean, France obviously was a good race last year.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can. I think it's another good track for Ferrari. Another possible good track for Renault. So we could see another very interesting battle for pole, hopefully.
Yeah.
And hopefully another entertaining race, and maybe Vettel will be able to finally get that win.
Definitely.
Because even though the straights, that back straight at Canada is ridiculously long, there are more long. There are sort of 2 really long straights in France.
The straights in Canada are longer than the straights in France.
Yeah, but there's only 1 really long straight in the one in Canada, whilst there are 2 that obviously are shorter than the one in Canada. But
there's technically 3. You could argue 3. The one before the chicane, the one after the chicane, and pit straight.
We talking about Canada? Or we talking about
France. Then Canada.
Oh, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, Canada's only really got 1 really sort of long. Well, only
2.
1 long straight, really.
2.
Oh yeah, actually, I guess the one before the chicane, but before the hairpin, sorry, is quite long as well.
No, I'm talking about up from the hairpin after to the chicane, and then from the.
That's not really long though. It's shorter than the other straight. Anyway, France is similar.
DRS straight after the hairpin towards the pit box. That big, huge, long thing.
Oh yeah, no, I thought we were already including that. That one, obviously, that was my big one that was including.
Then after the chicane up to the Wall of Champions to turn 1, which would be the other big one, and then there's like a smaller one that's the 3rd DRS zone, which is insignificant.
Yeah, well, France, if you're going to count those ones though, I'd say France is about the same as Canada then, maybe.
No, a bit less. A bit less.
Because France has really long straights.
Yeah, but France also has a lot of curved areas where Merc can get
but the Canada pit straight isn't long. The straight, after the chicane.
Well, yeah, I get that, but
I think France has got more long ones than Canada.
Yes.
Canada obviously has the longer one, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but Canada also has more straights in general, because there's only outside of those straights at France, it's all very medium speed corners.
And there's some high speed corners as well.
Well, and some high speed and some low speed, to be fair, in the last sector. So to be fair, I'd say it's going to be pretty even.
Yeah, I mean,
between Merc and Ferrari.
The thing is, for a race where Hamilton doesn't win, you need the Ferrari slightly better than the Mercedes, because if they're even, Hamilton, in my opinion, his ability is better. So, but yeah, either way, I think Ferrari will be strong again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll be interesting how they adapt. Interesting to see like how Vettel will recover from this. Will he use it as motivation, or will he fixate on it and keep crying about it and end up sort of not focusing too much in the past and making mistakes? Because if he has the right attitude, he'll use this as fuel for sort of a fight back and a win. Yeah. But yeah, you need a positive reaction from him, which will be hard. But I mean, true racers do that when they get down. The thing is with Vettel is he's not good at recovering from setbacks. Look at Germany last year. That shouldn't have lost him the title, because that only brought Hamilton back into the running for the title. But after that mistake at Germany, he just never recovered, and obviously ended up losing the title. So Vettel needs to be a lot stronger and come back from, from this what he thinks is an injustice. Otherwise, he's gonna, he's not gonna be able to challenge Hamilton again for the rest of the season. He'll just get obsessed with it.
Yeah. And if we also look at how far behind they are now, and considering we're now a third of the way through the season.
Yeah, I think it's win or bust for Vettel if he wants to launch a championship bid. He has to win in France.
If Vettel wants a championship win, he has to win 5 of the next 7 races.
I don't think he'll get a championship win, but what I mean is a championship, challenge at least.
Oh yeah.
He has to win.
But if he wants a win full stop, he has to be more or less flawless for the rest of the season.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. He's so far behind, and Ferrari obviously aren't that great at the area tracks.
Hungary is going to be hard for Ferrari.
Yeah, Hungary they'll struggle. But obviously Monza they'll be very strong at as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to France. I think it'll be another good race. Hopefully, it's starting to pick up. We had Australia, which was pretty bad as usual, and then Bahrain. Oh, how the fuck is that time panel? Yeah, I mean, should be a decent race. Hopefully we have another good qualifying. Hopefully the grid is a bit mixed. Maybe Renault can throw another span into the works like they did this weekend. Not too hopeful for McLaren though. I won't lie.
Yeah. Did Renault give McLaren those engine upgrades as a customer team?
What, McLaren?
Yeah. Did McLaren receive those engine upgrades?
No, they didn't, I don't think.
Yeah, but they are a customer team. Technically, they should have the right, though. Or it should be anyway.
I don't think...
They probably will, after a few races. Maybe. In Austria, maybe.
Yeah. Right. Do you want to do our predictions?
We'll start a poll.
Who did you say, sorry?
I said we'll begin a poll.
Oh, right, yeah.
Actually, no, we'll do top 4 from 4th down to 1st. Right. I'm going to say Leclerc 4th.
I'm going to say Bottas 4th again. Well, not again, but yeah, Bottas 4th.
I'm going to say Bottas 3rd.
I'm going to say Leclerc 3rd.
I'm going to go for a bit of a risk, and I'm going to say Verstappen 2nd.
Oof. I'm going to go for Hamilton 2nd.
I'm going to go Hamilton pole.
And I'm going to go for another Vettel pole.
Verstappen's a big risk on my part.
Yeah.
I just think that Vettel's ego is going to be a bit hampered after Canada.
Yeah, I think it will, and it will be all about how he responds, as I say. But if he responds like a true champion, he will respond with a pole.
Yeah. Another unpopular opinion I have Vettel, I think he's a very overrated driver.
I think some of his wins at Red Bull were certainly... the only competition he had was Mark Webber. who wasn't that good a driver, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, he was lucky to be in the car he was, to be honest. And Vettel absolutely stalled him. But what I will say is that first season he won the championship, Vettel in 2010 was pretty incredible when he was competing against Alonso.
Yeah,
Hamilton.
definitely.
And he did do brilliantly then. 2011 he also, you know, that was a great title win. I'd say, yeah, and then but a few of them, yeah. For
Piss
four
easy.
times,
Piss easy.
yeah,
Look.
for 4 times maybe you think there are drivers who deserve, you know,
More
more
than him.
Yeah, 4. Yeah.
One example being, I'll say his name now, Ayrton Senna. He should have more than Vettel.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, if any Ferrari people are watching this podcast, which I doubt they will be because
We're both
they
Merc
probably
fans.
listen to, like, and also they'd like listen to like
I'd be getting roasted in the comments right now.
And they'd just be screaming like, "Ah, you can't!" Just like screaming abuse, and then just like, turn it off. But yeah, so it doesn't matter. I think we'll be safe. But yeah, it's dangerous times. Dangerous times, man.
Yeah. I think from 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, I think the 2 Renaults are going to take the other 2 positions. Vettel will get 5th. I'm going to say Ricciardo 6th, Gasly 7th, Hülkenberg 8th.
I'm not going to go that far down because I think that's just a lottery. But
it is a lottery, but go on. Why not? Race. I think the podium will be Verstappen 3rd, Hamilton 2nd. I think Leclerc is going to get his first win here in Canada. I hope.
I think Verstappen 3rd, Vettel 2nd, Hamilton 1st.
Oh, you think Hamilton's going to win it?
Yeah, I just think he struggles not to win races. Like, generally, I thought Vettel was going to win Canada, and I thought
he should have won Canada.
And yeah, he should have won, but I just think Hamilton will want to prove people as well that you know, Canada, you know, he's not a driver who just relies on FIA decisions, even though he doesn't need to prove that. He'll want to do that. I think I'll make him hungrier. In terms of like sort of crazy predictions, what are we going for?
Kimi Räikkönen, Q3.
Okay, well, that's an interesting one. I don't think that's particularly that crazy, but
no, not at all. But I made some ballsy predictions already, and I kind of need to tone it back a bit.
True, and they haven't exactly worked out.
No, Ricciardo winning in Monaco.
Yeah. Max's call is that it might rain. That would be interesting. We haven't had a rainy race yet.
If I want to see rain around one racetrack, and I have to pick one right now, and it's only one for this entire season, I want to see it around Austria or Hungary.
Austria is a good one for that as well.
Yeah,
but I think
Austria
just
rain.
Either way, a rain track would be nice. So that just mixes up the field and stuff and separates and sort of closes the gap between cars.
If it does go down to the wire when with race wins, I'd like to see a torrential rain around Brazil, 2016 style.
Oh yeah.
I want to see that again. Yes, please. Give me.
Yeah, my sort of out there prediction. I'm gonna go for
Pierre Gasly winning.
Fuck off. I'm gonna go for Hülkenberg P5.
I went Ricciardo P6. That's interesting. Wait, so hold on. Wait, so hold on a second. You're saying that Hülkenberg is going to outqualify both Red Bulls?
No, not for qualifying the race.
Oh, race. Oh, never mind then. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, no, that was a race.
Oh, Jesus. I was like, what the fuck?
No, yeah, that's my race. Because I don't want to go with Ricciardo because it's a bit boring. So my out there prediction is,
Yeah.
It's
And
Hülkenberg.
I need to get you on the Ricciardo hype train.
No, it's not that I don't rate Ricciardo. I'm just going to Hülkenberg because like, otherwise every week someone's going to be predicting Ricciardo doing amazing, and that's just a bit. We need some variety.
Yeah, exactly. I still think we still need a bloody Hulkenberg podium already. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in this season we're not going to see any podium from any car that's not a Ferrari or Red Bull, right?
Well, unless
there's a race.
Unless Renault does something weird or there's a rain in the race. If there's rain in the race, I could see Ricciardo maybe pulling one off.
Of course, you'd say Ricciardo.
He's kind of good in the rain, though. I'd say him, Hamilton, and
he's good in the rain.
And Max are the best. No, I think I think Germany kind of ruined his rain pace.
Yeah. And Canada 2011.
Oh my god, that race is incredible.
Best Canada race of all time.
Arguably.
Although my favourite's still got to be Hamilton's first ever win in 2007. But that as a neutral, yeah, that was definitely one of the greatest races of all time with the good old Jenson. He was back in the punditry team again, which was nice to see.
Yeah. I do like a good old Jenson Button.
Oof. So Max has said both McLarens to finish in the top 10. I think that might be more out of hope than reality. I mean, it could happen, but
around this track, around this track, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Or 10th and 11th, maybe. 10th and 11th most.
And if they do it, they'll scrape it.
Actually, no. I have a better ballsy prediction.
Okay.
Verstappen to bin it.
Oof. I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Verstappen to bin it into somebody, or just bin it in general.
Into somebody, or just
in general, to spin it.
Okay. Yeah,
wait,
that'd be interesting.
Wait, where's he going to bin it around France? Pitstream, maybe?
Yeah, that's the only real place. I mean, there's so much runoff area.
Yeah.
In France, because it's quite a modern track.
Yeah.
There's no real walls that you can hit.
My Kimi prediction was a bit too safe. I'm going to come up with something more interesting. Lance Stroll to get out-qualified by a Williams.
I mean, no, I don't think that's possible. Even for Lance Stroll.
No. I don't even know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think France is going to be I think it might just be a very straightforward weekend.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be, unless there's rain. That's the only thing that could change stuff.
Give us rain, give us rain, give us rain.
Yes, please. We haven't had a rainy race yet, and I really want one. I miss rainy races. They're so good.
We haven't had one since Germany last year.
Yeah, that's fucking ages ago. That was last July.
Oh, blame it on global warming.
Yeah, fuck's sake.
Fucking global warming ruining our races.
I'm gonna like spray a load of deodorant now to try and like. Oh no, actually no, that'll make global warming worse. No, actually I need it to be better, don't I? Forget that. I'm gonna become like an ecologist just because like everyone else would be like, well, what do you want to say? And I'm like, the motorsport that.
Yeah, can we? I'm ready. I'm ready.
Like, fuel and stuff and
I know how to get rain. I know how to get rain. It'll definitely work.
Rain guards.
No, we need to pay off one of the teams, probably Christian Horner, to sneak down to the testing office where you're able to turn on the actual sprinklers around the track, because they have got they have got sprinklers around this track. Turn on the sprinklers, boys.
That would be interesting.
Definitely.
You know, Bernie Ecclestone actually proposed that at one point.
Did he?
He proposed to make F1 more exciting. That there'd be random, like, timed periods of the race where sprinklers would just go off and wet the track.
What?
And the drivers were like, well, fucking no, we don't want to die. Bernie was like, well, why not?
No.
Yeah, seriously, that was a legit thing.
Yeah, it's like Germany last year when there was rain on like one corner at the hairpin, and that's it.
Exactly.
That was a funky race. Hamilton 14th to win.
Yeah, it was an amazing race. I didn't watch that, unfortunately. I didn't have Sky at the time, and so I just had to listen to it on the radio. But I was like in despair because I was like, Vettel's going to pull away so much in the championship.
Yeah, I watched it on Channel 4. It's on the highlights are on that.
Oh right, yeah, I didn't. I watched the highlights obviously after, but I mean like live. I listened to it.
Oh, I go full media blackout. I listen to nothing.
Oh,
I just turn everything off
do that.
until I get a text from somebody in the F1 AOR group chat saying, "Oh, Hamilton won boring fucking race."
Yeah.
Anyway, excuse my French. Anyway, I think that's about it, is it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay. No, it isn't. People are just over exaggerating it, in my opinion. Or bloody Baku. Yeah. It happens. Okay, and on that bombshell, Top Gear reference. And on that bombshell, we'll see you guys next time. We got no money to give 'em.